How's it going? My name is Faruk. I'm a professional drifter. I compete in Formula Drift Pro spec. I also have a alignment shop, and I work with Hunter and do a lot of cool things with cars. So we're up here today in Petaluma, California at North Bay Nissan. And the thing I like about this dealership is not only are they GTR certified, they've got the flush mount alignment rack to work on super low cars, but they're also just auto enthusiasts, right? So Tommy, the gentleman that's gonna be helping us with our transmission fluid change today, he is not only a master tech, right? I think he's gaining platinum status, but he also is a drifter.
Yep.
So he's got a 350Z, comes out and slides at Sonoma Drift. Rad dude, and he's gonna show us how to change the transmission on a Nissan CVT. The ENEOS Import CVTF Model N is an exact match OE replacement fluid, engineered specifically for Nissans that require the Nissan CVTF NS3 or NS2 genuine fluid from the import series of exact matching fluids. That's a narrow match or an exact match fluid. For shops that work on all kinds of different imports, the ENEOS Eco CVT fluid is a broad match fluid, which can be used on most CVTs. Again, Nissan knows the specs. Choosing the right fluid comes down to choosing a genuine fluid or fluids created by professionals who have a close relationship to the manufacturers and are capable of producing lubricants that meet their CVTF requirements. Japanese automakers don't release the CVTF specs to anyone but OE suppliers. So as a factory fill supplier, ENEOS not only knows the CVTF requirements, they also help create the requirements with OEMs during the R&D process. ENEOS CVTF contains additives developed by their unique technology, which is patented. This is proprietary technology that no other company can imitate. Let's jump into it. What's up, dude?
What's up, man?
You're a master tech, but you got like a special, what's your...
Well, I'm going for the next step up. It's called Platinum certification.
Cool.
So I'll be a Platinum Master, hopefully pretty soon.
Nice.
That's just the next step up for Nissan with the certifications and stuff.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And not only that, but you're also a drifter.
Yep.
Right?
Well, try to.
There you go. We're all trying, right?
Learning.
Cool. And we got this 2020 Ultimate. I guess let's jump right into it.
Yeah, first of all, got to pull these fantastic clips off to get to this under panel. Pretty much all the new cars have these nowadays.
There she is.
Grab a bungee cord, pull your...
Oh, well, it even has like a little folding area right there in the way. Yeah.
Pretty much every Nissan is a 19mm socket for the drain plug here. I know you mentioned to me before, other dealers will measure the amount of fluid that comes out. I usually just drain it, and I know from experience about how much goes in.
And so there's a couple different types of CVTs for Nissans, right?
Yeah, so this style, when you're looking under the hood, there'll be a dipstick tube that's sticking up and out. And then there's another style. A lot of the smaller cars like Sentras, Versas, and Kicks, they don't have a dipstick tube. Like there's a small one, a little tiny one, but they're really hard to get to. But the drain plug on the pan usually is like right around here. So if you take the drain plug out, and then there would be a overflow plug sticking up into the pan. You'd have to remove that to fully drain all your fluid out.
And you said there's an Allen key on that drain plug?
Yeah, it's generally a 5mm Allen.
So two different styles. So if it has no dipstick, you got to do the overflow thing. This one has a dipstick?
This one does have a dipstick.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Nissan recommends to inspect your fluid every 30,000 miles. Generally, I recommend them at 30,000 just for the drivability of the cars. Like you don't want your fluid to degrade, because once the fluid starts degrading, I mean, that's just the railroad to CVT blowing up. So I generally recommend every 30,000 miles to replace the fluid in these things.
Yeah, it's cheap maintenance, right, compared to a CVT transmission. Yeah. Is there a recommended drain time, or is it just when it kind of stops?
No, you kind of just let it drip. I mean, it's still going to hold a little bit of fluid down in this bottom part of the pan, so however you want to let it drain. It also depends on how warm the fluid was. Like, so this car I just pulled in, it's not warmed up yet. So the fluid's a little thicker. When it's warm, a little bit more will come out. That's just the way it goes generally.
Cool. Let's grab one of these. Do you fill from up top, or do you fill from...
I fill them from up top.
All right.
With the drain plugs as well, there's these copper washers. You always want to replace them, or else your drain plug's going to leak.
The little things, right?
These ones are NS3.
These are NS3? Yeah. Okay. The nice thing about the import CVT fluid, the Model N Plus, is that it not only can do the NS3, but it's also does and takes care of the NS2 cars.
Nissan uses NS2 on any of the new cars. That would be generally probably like 2012 and older
Yep.
Nissans with CVTs will be NS2, but there's normally a sticker under the hood that tells you what fluid to use.
Cool.
That way you can't really get it wrong.
Yep. Or if you're using ENEOS, it'll work on both, which is great. Yeah. So Thomas is showing me something. This little plug right here is the overflow plug, right?
Yes.
So
that's how you level your fluid. I generally put a little bit more fluid in than what it requires.
Gotcha.
That way you can level it off.
Yep. What's the torque spec on these stream pans, you know?
These ones I set to about 24, 25 foot-pounds.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice. And
over torque them, you're gonna ruin the copper washer in there, and it'll start dripping out.
is that a metal pan or plastic? I can't tell.
It's a metal pan.
Oh, it's a metal pan?
Yeah. We pretty much use all metal pans on CVTs.
So
now
fill
we're
first
ready.
and then we'll do the overflow, right?
Yeah, now we're ready to fill it up.
Let's do it.
This is the caution label that tells you what fluid you're supposed to use in there.
So I can get it without the... So there's a...
Grab a funnel.
Yep.
That's on them.
And straight through the dipstick tube, huh?
Yep.
Nice and easy. 5 quarts on this one?
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, I pretty much do 5 quarts for everything because it's better to have more fluid in there than not enough.
Yep.
So you don't want to run it low on fluid, you know.
And with that overflow bolt that we're going to get to, it doesn't really matter how much you put in because you can just regulate it from there.
Exactly.
Great.
Yeah, that's why it's better to do more than less.
Look at that green color, huh? Kind of cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good way to kind of like figure out the condition of your fluid depending on what color it turns as you drive it.
Okay.
So like you'll start getting it where if you're getting any sort of like juddering, lots of power, stuff like that, if you look at the fluid and it's got like this burnt smell that's like really dark brown, like it's time to change your fluid, you know.
So it's no longer green, you should probably change it.
It kind of, as it deteriorates, it changes color more to like a dark brown, kind of like what
Coffee.
engine oil would look like almost. Juddering is a big one with Nissan.
So like shaking, juddering.
Yeah,
Okay.
you'll try and accelerate, and the transmission will literally go like a judder.
Huh.
Yeah.
And then fuel efficiency, you think that?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So the fuel economy will go down.
Yeah.
So track your fuel economy and you gotta make sure.
Because I mean that's the whole purpose of the CVT is to enhance fuel economy, because being a continuously variable transmission, you're always in the correct gear ratio for the amount of power that you're needing, and like so when you're cruising on the freeway, it's the least amount of like torque that it can be. But once you step on the pedal, if you need to speed up, it lowers that gear ratio so you get that speed that you need.
So Nissan has made a lot of improvements since the first concept, including more frequent fluid change recommendations, and they are much more reliable now than they were originally, right?
Yeah.
How do you see that a transmission will last the life of a car now with regular fluid changes?
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
I've had some cars come in here with like 200,000 miles still on their original transmission, just because the people take care of it.
Yep.
So this is your dipstick cap. There's a locking tab in here that sometimes is kind of a pain to get off. So what I usually do, once it's clipped in, if you pull it back, stick a pocket screwdriver in there, release the tab, it pops right out. So I'm pulling the cap back to try and release as much from that. And there's a little plastic tab in there that comes in.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So there's actually a special Nissan tool that they give you for that, huh?
Yeah, so you put it in the front side and then pull it forward, and then it...
So now he's got to start the car. A couple things to talk about too is, so some people feel more comfortable using an exact match fluid. So this is the Model N Plus. For shops who do multiple types of vehicles, it may make more sense to use a broad match fluid, like the Eco CVT fluid. How long do you typically let it run after you fill?
So generally you want to do these services when the transmission's cold. It probably takes about 5 minutes to get warmed up to the point where you need to check the fluid. So now we'll put the car back up so we can do that. There's a recommendation where they want you to check it at 94 to 104 degrees Celsius. So unless you have a scan tool, you can't really do that yourself. So I kind of generally go from car being cold, letting it run for about 5 minutes, and that's generally right where it needs to be. So this drain plug's 14 millimeter. So I'll just crack it loose. So that drain plug or the overflow plug will be the same with your Pathfinders, Altimas, Muranos, Maximas. I think that's about it. They'll pretty much all the same layout with the overflow.
Yeah. The ones without the drain plugs are a little bit trickier. I mean, only because you have that overflow that has the sets from inside.
It's putting the fluid back in is what's trickier. Like we have a special tool that it screws into the drain plug, and then we have a fluid pump that we pump the fluid into.
Oh, okay, interesting.
We pump the fluid in with the overflow like plug that's still in there. And then you get it warmed up and everything. You take that whole piece out, and then it'll level itself. And then you put the drain plug back in. It's a little bit harder to do, but you can actually you can reach up under the transmission and unbolt the dipstick. And you can pull the dipstick out, take that cap off. And if you have I bought a funnel specifically for it that's the same size as the tube.
Oh, okay.
And it's a really thin funnel, so you can actually fill it from the top.
So to be clear, the ones without a conventional dipstick still have a small dipstick on the side.
Yeah.
Okay. And so you can fill from that port.
Yeah. It's just hard to get to because it's buried down in there. So sometimes you got to remove a couple things in the engine bay, but if you got smaller arms, you might be able to just get in there and get it. But we'll go ahead and pull the level plug out. There's a little O-ring on these.
Okay.
So you just want to make sure the O-ring's still in good condition before you put it back in. I don't generally replace them unless the O-ring looks messed up.
It's a rubber O-ring?
Yeah. So now you kind of just...
you can see how clear it is right now.
Yeah. Now you just go until it starts dribbling a little bit.
Oh, until it slows down. I gotcha.
So once it starts to kind of just dribble out, you know it's full and it's at the right spec. But also, if you had like a, what do you call it, a beaker, where you can measure the amount of fluid coming out, then you could put that same amount of fluid back in, plus like a little bit more. And then you would pretty much already be dribbling at this point. But since I did a little bit more than what it really needed, a little bit more is coming out. You know, this is maybe like a quarter of a quarter. Yeah, at this point, you kind of just play the waiting game.
What's the torque spec on the overflow?
Generally about 10 foot-pounds.
10 foot-pounds?
Yeah, so the fluid coming out is actually looking really good. Sometimes you'll get one that has a lot more miles, and the fluid will actually be coming out brown because a lot of that fluid is stored in the torque converter still. So you probably have an extra 2 quarts of fluid just in your torque converter. So as you're running the car and it starts mixing it in, but this is actually looking pretty good.
So do you think it's actually an advantage to maybe put knowingly more than you should?
Yeah, because then once you run it, it'll cycle through.
Cool. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, so now it's starting to go.
Well, it's spinning a little bit, huh?
I'm gonna pull this up so we're not gonna get splashed.
There we go.
Yeah, so we're just about there. Now you see the stream starting to get a little thinner.
Old manish.
Yeah, I would probably call this good because the stream it's starting to dribble a bit. And you don't want to let too much out because if you let too much out,
then you're a little
not enough fluid. Put that thing down.
Sweet. Under tray back on. Call it a day, huh?
Yep.
God. Well, thank you, Tommy.
Yeah, appreciate it.
That's awesome.